All right, we are officially live. Welcome everyone to Authors Live. I'm super excited for our special guest here today. We have the wonderful Taylor Bennett.
Hello.
Thanks for coming and talking with us. I'm super excited to talk about your book and yeah, you've just had a lot of exciting things going on.
Yes, I definitely have.
So before we dive into talking about your story and everything, this is always the most awkward question when people are like, tell us about yourself, because it's like, what am I supposed to say? But just a little bit of
Yeah.
background on who you are would be awesome.
All right. So I am Taylor and I'm 17 years old and I'm currently a senior in high school slash homeschool, which pretty much means that I've done all the work for the classes that I really need to. So this year is my year to take off and pursue, quote, creative writing, which pretty
Oh,
much
that's
means I'm
awesome.
spending a lot of extra time writing and marketing and getting to do fun stuff like this.
Yeah.
Um, so when I'm not writing, a lot of things that I like to do, I play the violin. I also teach violin and piano and cello lessons.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so I was mainly interested in music, possibly even as a career for quite a while until I
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
discovered writing
Oh, that's
through
cool.
music.
So
Yeah,
you're definitely multi-talented and enjoy doing different things.
I enjoy doing a lot of different things. Yes.
That's awesome. I love that because I'm the same way. Like I'm interested in so many different things and
hmm
it's hard to just like focus on one thing at a time.
Yeah, definitely. I
Very
definitely get
cool.
that.
All right. Well, I'm going to attempt to open up our chat box because I know we have some people tuning in. So I'm going to see if I can grab this link, open our chat box, and welcome to everyone who is tuning in live. We're super excited to have you guys. I want to remind you all, please feel free to join in the chat box to share your thoughts. Ask questions. We would love to hear from you. I know that a lot of you guys are big fans of Taylor's work. And if you guys have questions for her, please feel free to ask. So
Yeah, definitely. I
I'm
love to answer
pulling up the
questions.
box right now, and you guys can feel free to go ahead and start asking questions. I think I got it open, and we're good. Okay, so what we want to talk about today, the first thing before we talk about anything else, is your book, which I'm super excited
Yes.
about. The cover is adorable. It looks amazing.
Thank you.
And the story, it sounds so sweet. So tell us about your book.
All right, so my book is called Porch Swing Girl, and it is a contemporary novel for young adults. And it follows the protagonist, 16-year-old Olive Galloway, when she gets pretty much abandoned at her grandmother's house in Hawaii after her
Oh.
mom dies. Her dad is just kind of thrown into this spiral of grief. He doesn't know how to deal with anything. He wants to start
Mhm.
over. So he's going back home to Boston to sell the family house and start over. And Olive is desperate to stop him. You know, Dad, this is a bad idea. Like, you don't want to sell the house. You don't want to get rid
Yeah.
of all mom's stuff. Everyone's going to regret this down the road. So she launches into all these different schemes to make enough money to escape Hawaii and go back home to stop Dad. And nothing really works until she starts working at a shave ice shack with one of the local kids who kind of
Okay.
gets her involved with the church's youth group, and she starts making new friends. And
Oh,
eventually she
cool.
makes really good friends with a local girl who's hiding a big secret. And as
Oh,
soon as that
wow.
secret comes out, Olive realizes that she can't leave. She needs to spend all of her time helping this girl, but that's going to require her making some really tough choices along the way.
Wow, that sounds so good. I'm super excited to
Thanks.
read it. I have not read it yet. I know that a lot of you watching have probably read it because I know that you had some beta readers and some
Yes.
girls who have read it. So that's super exciting. So being set in Hawaii, I love that. Have you ever been to Hawaii?
Yes, I have. I have been 3 times. Two of them were, quote, research trips for this book. And the first time I went was kind of what inspired the very start of the book
Oh,
was the thought of,
cool.
oh, well, I'd really like to write a book that takes place in Hawaii sometime. So pretty
Yeah.
much, yeah. I visited for the first time when I was 12, and then I visited also when I was, I think, 15 and 16.
Oh,
And
cool.
yeah, we have a family friend owns a condo over there, so we're able to to stay in that condo and kind of really get
Oh,
the local
fun.
experience.
Yeah. And that must have helped so much, like actually being there to be able to write
Absolutely.
the location about your novel. And I'm sure you got some great pictures. Like, I love your
Mm-hmm.
Instagram feed. If you guys are
Oh,
not
thanks.
following her on Instagram, you need to go follow her. Her feed is so adorable. And I love what you did. I saw that one of your characters kind of took over your Instagram,
Yes.
and it's so cute. I love it.
Thanks. Yes, right now my Instagram has been hacked by Olive, and she is taking all of my followers on a tour around her version of Hawaii.
Oh, that's so cool. I love it. So when does the Porch Swing Girl come out?
So Porch Swing Girl releases on May 1st. It's available for pre-order on ebook now, and
Okay.
it will be available in print on May 1st.
Yay, that's exciting. That's coming really soon.
Yeah,
That's
it is.
awesome. Very cool. So is this the first like full novel that you've written, or do you have a lot of other novels that you wrote before this?
I'm pretty much saying that this is the first novel I ever wrote. When
Yeah.
I was about 13, I tried to write a novel, and I wrote something. I don't know if you'd call it a novel, but I wrote it through completion, but it
Uh-huh.
really wasn't much of anything. So this is the first like real book that I've ever
Yeah.
written and ever completed.
That's very awesome. And I love that like you're doing it while you're still in high school. And like I know that a lot of the girls who follow me and yourself, are younger and they are still in school. So it's so awesome to see someone like as an example telling girls that they can totally do this while they're young. Like even though we're so busy and have all this stuff going on, like they
Mm-hmm.
can still make their dreams come true. And what I love is I know that I talked to you a little bit about this just on Instagram, like in instant messenger and stuff, is like the
Mm-hmm.
process of how you actually got published, because I know that
Right.
a lot of people that's just such a big daunting mystery, like a task, like
Mm-hmm.
how do I go about getting published? So what did you do to get your book published?
What I did is I did a lot of things in kind of a strange way. First of all, I started sending out query letters, which are kind of the first contact that you typically have between the author and the publisher. I started
Mm-hmm.
sending out those letters when I was probably only, I don't know, 10 chapters into my book, which is
Oh, okay.
kind of a no-no. Like you're
Yeah.
supposed to have the whole
It should
book
be
written.
finished. Yeah.
It should be finished and it should be edited, but it wasn't. I'm slightly over ambitious in a lot of areas. And I was just like, well, I just want to see if anyone's even interested, see if I should keep working on this. And oh,
Mm.
there's this writers conference coming up in August. I'm just going to send out some queries to some of the editors that are going to be there.
Oh, wow.
And I was able to choose 3 editors to send query letters to in advance with the promise of being able to meet with them at the conference.
Mm-hmm.
I had 2 of my dream editors were going there. Both of them were not interested in the book, but then there was room for me to query one more editor, and I thought, well, I'm just going to take a wild guess and pick this one off the list. And I
Uh-huh.
picked them off the list, and a couple weeks after I sent in that advanced submission, she was emailing me asking to see more of my work,
Oh,
asking me
cool.
questions, would I be willing to write any more books?
Mm-hmm.
And we met up there at that conference, and she said, we really want you to finish this and then send a book proposal.
Oh,
So
cool.
I spent an entire year polishing it, working with a freelance editor, making sure it was really, really good. And then I submitted to her again up at that same writers conference this last
Mm-hmm.
August. She liked it. She said, this is good. We want this, and we want to contract 2 more at the same time.
Oh, exciting.
And I actually had my release date was planned for January of 2019.
Oh, wow.
And through a lot of craziness, it's now coming out in May.
Yeah, so are you excited about it coming out earlier? I imagine.
Definitely
Yeah,
excited. I
that's a
know when I
long
first,
wait.
yes, it was going to be a long wait, and I was super excited. But I was like, man, it's going to be so long. And then I got the call a few months later, like, hey, we had this opening in June. Can it be ready? And I was like, yes, it absolutely
Wow,
can be. And
very
then it got
cool.
bumped to May, and yeah.
Yeah, and who's your publisher again?
It's called Mountain Brook Inc. It's a small
Okay.
publisher. It's only been around for a couple of years, but their
Uh-huh.
authors are doing some really, really great things. They've been winning awards. One of their books
Oh,
even
wow.
got turned into a movie a couple months ago. So that
Oh,
was
that's really
really,
cool.
really exciting.
Yeah, that is so awesome. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and check our chat box and see.
Okay.
We've got a couple girls joining in. Okay, and I have to apologize because I feel like I always say your name wrong, but Fo. That's probably not how you say it. She has a question, and she says, how do you balance your time with music and writing? Because you did say that you're interested in music. So
Yes.
how do you do that?
Oh, probably not as well as I should. I spend a lot of time writing, and then I'm always like, oh no, I forgot to practice today. I need to go practice. Really, it's just kind of having that schedule. I've been playing violin and other various instruments since I was 7.
Oh, wow.
And when I was that young, my mom kind of had a rule: you need to practice for a set amount of time, 5 days a week. And that was
Mhm.
just, has been pretty much my routine ever since then. So that is still to this day. I'm like, okay, I have a violin lesson once a week. And in between that lesson and the next one, I need to be able to have 5 days of practice under my belt. So I pick
Wow.
my 5 days and I make sure that I can check off each little day, and I go in there and make sure and practice. I also have orchestra rehearsals at specific times so that I
Hmm.
can know, okay, I've got to go to orchestra. I should practice before orchestra, that kind of thing. It does get challenging though. Like, I used to practice every single morning, and now there are some mornings where I can't do that because I have to write
Hmm.
or do marketing things. So it's
Right.
really just having that discipline and knowing what needs to be done by the end
Hmm.
of each week.
Yeah, that's really good. And this, do you use like, I know that all authors are different, but do you use anything to keep yourself accountable as far as like word count or how many pages you write a day, or do you really just let it go with like the flow of whatever season you're in? Because I know some people like to have like their schedule and other people just kind of write by the seat of their pants whenever the
Mm-hmm.
inspiration strikes.
I try to have a schedule. Like, I have deadlines. I have a deadline
Mm-hmm.
for my second book is August 1st, pretty much.
Okay.
Um, and I'm working on getting more of a schedule figured out right now. I'm doing a lot of other things in music and ministry with my
Yeah.
church. So I've been really busy and haven't been able to write quite as much as I like to. But when I write, I like to typically write 4 to 5 days a week and get in about 1,600 words, which
Yeah.
usually isn't
Hmm.
too much of a problem. But that's kind of the goal that I shoot for. Like, if I can
Yeah.
look at my word count for the day and see that number, I'm really happy. So
Yeah.
I don't have any hugely set goals, but I have a planner and I scribble stuff down in the planner, write this many
Hmm.
words ideally by this day or whatever.
Yeah, that sounds great. And that's so helpful to hear because I know that all authors do things differently. And it's just always nice to hear that there are options. And like you, if you're
Yeah.
not big on, you know, stressful deadlines and word count, like,
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to do that if you're not like in a contract or that's not, the way that you're wired. Or if you are the more organized, structured person, you can set those goals and they can be realistic. So that's always good to hear.
Yeah.
Um, about that stuff. Okay, so Jess says, tell us about where you live.
Okay.
What
So,
state are you from?
I live in Oregon, and I
Okay.
live in a small town called Roseburg that no one really ever has heard of it. I'm very surprised if I meet someone and they're like, "Oh, I know where Roseburg is," unless they live
Yeah.
like a half hour away or something. It's about three
Hmm.
hours south of Portland, and honestly,
Okay.
I love it here. It's a smallish town, kind of in a valley, surrounded by a lot of beautiful mountains and waterfalls and hill country, and it's one of the most beautiful places in the world, in
Oh,
my very
cool.
humble opinion.
That's
um,
awesome.
and there's
Yeah.
a pretty strong sense of community here. Everyone knows everyone, even though it isn't that small of a town. There's
Hmm.
still everyone has probably connected in some way or has mutual friends. So it's a
Yeah.
great place to grow up and a great place to live
That's
there.
fun.
And it has a lot of neat community groups. There are youth orchestras, and every Saturday there's
Hmm.
a really nice farmers market. It's a really
Oh,
fun place to
cool.
live.
It sounds like the perfect place to write.
It is. It is a
Very
great place to
whimsical.
write. Very whimsical, lots of inspiration. Like, I could just go take a walk and get a story idea just like that. Like,
Hmm.
oh, wouldn't it be cool to write a story about whatever?
Yeah, that's awesome. Very cool. Okay, so we've got Ivy. She asks, do you prefer to write in the morning or in the evening?
Definitely the morning. I am much more of a morning person than I am an evening person.
Hmm.
By about 8 or 9 o'clock at night, I am not good for
You're
anything
done.
other than maybe putting up an Instagram post. I'm done. I'm like, my brain, it might still be functioning, but it is not able to go and grind out
Yeah.
1,600, 2,000 words. So I like to write in the morning or maybe the early afternoon. But
Hmm.
on my perfect day, I would wake up, eat breakfast, take a walk, and then write all morning.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so Let's see, we've got some other questions here. Kate is here. Hey, Kate. She was the last author that we did this with.
Oh,
So
fun.
if you guys
Hi,
want to
Kate.
check out her last video, it's on my channel too. That was a really good chat. Okay, so she says, what kind of books, movies, or other art mediums inspire you to write?
Oh, that's a tough one. I get inspired by a lot and a little bit of everything. One thing that really inspires me are other clean contemporary young adult books. I've never really been able to get into a ton of like fantasy or sci-fi or speculative genres just
Mm-hmm.
because I think it kind of confuses me a little bit. So I get really inspired when I see another person, whether they're published or not, that is writing clean contemporary
Mm-hmm.
books for young adults that are just fun and light, but that also have some really deep threads hidden throughout. That
Yeah.
inspires me a lot. And also, I'm hugely inspired by music. I can hear a song, whether it has words or not, if it's just instrumental, either way, that can inspire me to create a story kind of in my mind that goes along with the song. I
Mm-hmm.
do a lot of kind of brainstorming and mulling over things while I'm actually practicing my violin or
Oh, that's so
cello or
cool.
something like that. So
Yeah.
music is hugely inspiring to me.
Yeah, that's really cool. So do you have any favorite authors?
Oh, I have a lot of them. I I love Tamara Alexander. I don't know if you know who she is, but
I don't.
she writes a lot of historical books actually,
Okay.
and a lot of them set during kind of the post Civil War era in Nashville, Tennessee, with all the
Oh,
like
cool.
opulent mansions. And she writes a lot
Yeah.
of really good descriptive prose that really inspires me because
Uh-huh.
description is one of my favorite parts of writing.
Yeah,
I
that's so cool. Oh,
mhm.
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, 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 that's fine. One of my other favorite authors back from when I was younger and just getting into kind of the middle grade young adult genres is Heather Vogel Frederick. And she wrote the
Mm.
cutest little series called the Mother Daughter Book Club. And
Oh.
there were about, I don't know, maybe 5 or 7 books in that series. And I've read them all probably a million times. Like they are dog-eared and raggedy, and I just keep
Aw.
reading them because I love everything about her writing style. And funny story, I actually accidentally stole something of hers in one of her
Oh.
books. The characters eat Pirate Pete's pizza, and I didn't realize until I was in my fifth round of edits of Porch Swing Girl that I
Oh.
had accidentally written Pirate Pete's pizza into the book. And at the time, I thought, oh, what a great idea. They live in Hawaii. They live by the beach. Of course, there'd be Pirate Pete's pizza. And then I finally realized it, and I was like, oh my goodness, like I either need to change this or maybe contact her and see if like, is it okay
Mhm.
if I steal your pizza place? And so I emailed her and explained, and she emailed back like the sweetest email saying, oh no, it's fine. Just go ahead and
Oh,
use it. If anyone complains, just tell them Heather told you it's okay. So
that's
she
so
was really
cute.
sweet about it, and it was fun.
Oh, that's really cool. That is funny how like we have different things that will be in our head and we don't even know how it got
Mm-hmm.
there and we'll accidentally slip it into our writing. And then
Yes.
later when we go back and look at something, we'll be like, wait a minute, I do not think that's actually an original thought. That's not good.
Exactly.
It's
I
funny
know.
how that happens. But
I know
that's cute.
when I wrote my first book, I accidentally like named my main character after some other main character of a
Mm.
different book, and then I looked and I was like, "Oh, I can't use that anymore."
Yeah, that's funny. That's really cute though, like that she was so supportive and wanted you to use that
Yeah,
pizza
she
place name.
definitely was.
That's fun. Very cool. All right. So another question, do you have any tips for young aspiring writers?
All right, my biggest tip would be to stay consistent. If you want to be a
Mhm.
writer, there is absolutely nothing that is going to stop you other than you. You need to be able to just have that drive and that motivation. If you want to get published, I totally believe in you no matter who you are. You just need to make sure start writing every day, start reading every day, start connecting with other writers. That I think is
Yeah.
one of the hardest things to do as a young author is there aren't a ton of young people out there that want to write. So you need to be
Hmm.
able to go find them. There are some amazing groups on Facebook. There's one called, I think it's the Young Writer Community, and there's a website, a great blog called Go Teen Writers. Those are
Yeah.
both great places to find that community and support with other younger writers. So I think as a young author, it's important to stay consistent, but it's also really important to have some sort of support system, people that can be your critique partners, people that can give you advice and encouragement. I was very fortunate in just the next town over, there happens to live a best-selling Christian author whom I got to connect with, and she
Oh,
has mentored
cool.
me for a couple of years now and been super supportive, offered me all kinds of advice. So I was very fortunate to be able to find someone that can kind of give me that in-person advice, but it is also hard to find that. So I suggest that young writers really seek out those ways to find and build a community with other young writers.
Yeah, that's really good. And I love that we do live in the time that we live right now with the internet and with, like you mentioned, those couple groups on Facebook. And there are lots of
Yes.
websites and places that you can get connected with other writers. Because, I mean, if you think about it, back in the old days, what did young writers do then? I mean, they would just sit alone and write themselves and then ship their book off in the mail and hope to get published. And we're so blessed to live in this time where we can connect with other like-minded people. So that is fantastic advice. That's really good. And also, I know the Young Writers Workshop by Brett Harris is really, really great too. So there's so many great places to get connected. That was a great question. Okay, so I think I've caught up on all of your questions. Thank you guys for everyone who's talking in the chat box. Like, it's seriously so fun for y'all to come and hang out with us live and ask questions. Oh, wait, I'm missing some. Never mind, I didn't get caught up. Okay. Oh, we've got a lot of questions. Okay, let me back up a little bit. Okay, so Corey Wafer says, you're so busy all the time, and I know that you don't always get the time to write. So on those days that you don't get to write, do you feel discouraged?
I don't feel discouraged, actually. Surprisingly, on the days that I don't write, I find myself feeling encouraged because normally I'm thinking about my writing in the back of my head whenever I'm doing anything.
Yeah.
So I've actually had times when I take a weekend off, and by the time I start writing again, I am so excited to get in there. I'm just like, I can't wait. I've been thinking about this scene all weekend long, and maybe I've come up with a couple of little snippets of dialogue, or something interesting or funny happens that I kind of want to write into my scene.
Yeah.
So every now and then, like if I don't write for a couple of weeks just because I've been so busy, I've had no time to write, then I will start feeling like, oh my goodness, I've got to get writing. Like I have a deadline and it's coming soon. But most of the time, if I just take a couple of days off and it's planned, by the end of it, I'm like, it was really great to have a break, but I can hardly wait to dive back in.
Yeah. And I think that's when you know that you're a true writer. Like when you're genuinely that excited about writing, and like when you wake up and it's what you're thinking about, and you go to sleep and it's what you're thinking about, and you're honestly that excited to sit down at the keyboard. It obviously shows that God has given you a gift to share with other people, because you wouldn't be that excited if it wasn't something that the Lord had given you to share with people. So that's great. Okay, cool. Well, thank you guys. Your questions are so awesome. There are so many of them. Okay. Jessica asks, do you have any graduation plans yet?
Ooh, graduation plans as in, I'm assuming that means maybe what I do after graduation.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. My plan is to keep doing the writing thing, and I am most likely going to be given a job position with my local youth orchestra that I've been playing in for the last 10 or 11 years now. And I've been volunteering with them since before I started high school. And I've been talking with them pretty seriously about taking over one of the classes with younger, more inexperienced students. So most likely I'm going to start teaching that as a paid position in the fall. Which means that and my writing and teaching a lot of violin and cello and piano lessons is kind of the path I see myself going down right now. Honestly, I'm just going to say it was a hard decision to make, because there were so many people who would tell me, you've got to go to college. You don't want to waste your life. You don't want to regret not going to college. But through a lot of thought and prayer, I just feel like the place I need to be is staying here and kind of seeing what God has for me. And to keep praying about it. I'll pray about maybe just this being a lapse year or something. But right now, I feel like my place is just to stay doing what I'm doing and hopefully inspiring people that way.
Yeah, that's so awesome to hear, because I know that that can be such an anxiety provoking thing when you come up
Mm-hmm.
to, you're about getting close to graduation and everyone's asking, what school are you going to go to? What are your plans?
Yes.
And if God has put something else that's different in your heart, it can be hard to stand up for yourself and say, well, actually,
Mm-hmm.
this is where I believe God has me, because people think that they know what's best for your life. And so
Yes.
just the fact that you're able to stand up and say, this is where God has me for now. This is the season I'm in. And that really does encourage and inspire others. So that's awesome that you would share that with us. And just to remind others out there who maybe are not going to go the traditional college route, that, you know, just go where God wants you, like wherever he leads you. That's awesome.
Yes, definitely.
Very cool. So Ivy says, how long have you known that you wanted to be an author?
Oh, that's tough. I've always known that I loved writing. Like, I was telling stories to my parents and making them write them down before I even knew how to write myself. But
that's great.
as far as knowing about being a professional author, like a published author, it wasn't until I was about 13 and I tried my first attempt at a novel, which was not a novel, and started thinking, hey, you know, there are actually publishing companies out there. And I started seeing online, like other teens, people my age or a little older, that had gotten real live publishing contracts. And I was like, wow, people can actually do this. Beforehand, I'd almost thought of being an author was like being a movie star or something, like so amazing, but also at the same time impossible. Exactly. When I started seeing kind of the mechanics behind the publishing industry, I started thinking, wow, you know, maybe I can really do this. Maybe I should actually start thinking of author as a career and not just a fantasy.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great question. And of course, great answers. All your answers have been great.
Thanks. Yeah, these are really fun questions.
Okay, Kate says, I love your passion for clean YA fiction. Can you tell us a little bit about why you feel clean YA fiction is important and needed in our current society?
Ooh, this is something I'm super passionate about. So I love this
Such a great question. Yeah.
Yes. I am so passionate about it because I myself get really frustrated when I walk into a bookstore. I was just at a Barnes and Noble this last weekend, and they had a huge YA section with so many books. And I picked up a few and flipped through them and read the back cover copy. And I loved the back cover copies. I thought they sounded like such fun books. They had beautiful covers. And I started flipping through them and I just started seeing things that I knew that I would not be comfortable reading, that weren't pure or good, and that I knew that God would not want me to be putting into my mind. So I kind of walked out of that bookstore thinking, oh my goodness, there's so many books in there that all sound good, but really aren't that good on the inside. So that was one of the things that has really kept me inspired throughout my writing journey, is knowing that there are girls like me out there who really, really want to read exciting, engaging stories, but they also want them to be clean and uplifting and inspiring.
Definitely. I think like that's just so encouraging to hear, because one of my favorite quotes is, I forget who said it, but they said, if you don't see the book on the shelf that you want to read, then write it. And so I love that you're doing that. And I know that there really are so many who are like, it's just, it can get frustrating. I mean,
it can.
Like, I remember being younger, I don't know, it was probably like 14. And we had just moved back to my old town and we had an amazing library. And I was so excited to get back in there. And I was just kind of getting into the YA section. Like, I graduated from all the little chapter books. I had read everything. And I went in there all excited. And then I started finding out what was actually in these books. And I was like, I can't read this stuff. This is not uplifting and pure. And so I love that there are so many young people. I feel like there's definitely a remnant of people who are rising up and saying, we're going to take control and we're going to write what we want to write. And we're going to read what we want to read. And so I love that you're doing that, because I think so many writers are readers who just couldn't find what they wanted, the stories that they wanted to read. So I love that that's your passion. It's so cool.
Thanks.
Okay. Grace asks, what is your dream instrument?
My dream instrument. That's tough. My dream instrument was always like the violin to play. I always dreamt of playing the violin. And so that's my number one dream instrument. If I could learn to play any instrument that I don't already play, I would really like to learn how to play the ukulele.
Yes.
I have a ukulele that I bought when I was in Hawaii, and I want to learn to play that thing so badly. But My violin teacher will tell you this. I have really small hands, so like to stretch my fingers into all those
Yeah.
positions for the chords
Yeah.
just frustrates me to no end. So I always like pick it up and try and play it, and then I'll just be like, "Oh my goodness, this is really uncomfortable," and there are all these weird chords. But if I could learn to play any instrument, it would definitely be the ukulele.
Yeah. Do you play guitar? I don't remember if you said.
I don't play
No.
guitar.
Okay.
I play violin, viola, cello, string bass, and piano, but no
Oh,
guitar.
wow. Yeah. Well, it's cute too that you got your ukulele in Hawaii. Does your main
Yes,
character play ukulele at all, or might she learn
she
it in the
doesn't.
future? No. Okay.
She might learn it in the future. I almost had her learn to play ukulele in the sequel, so that didn't
Cool.
work out, but possibly in the third book. One of
Yeah.
her friends, one of her friends plays guitar and ukulele though,
Oh,
so
cool.
I'm like,
Yeah. That's fun. Okay, let's see. This is a this is a comment from Ivy. She says, I can't stand when people think that we need to go to college to have a good life. God has other plans for some of us. I think it's awesome that you're sticking to what God has in your heart.
oh, well,
So
thanks,
cool.
Ivy. And I'm glad to hear that other people kind of hold that opinion. That's kind of a rare opinion, but I think it's such a great way to view life in the future.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Jessica says, I was actually wondering about your graduation celebration, but what you said
Okay.
was good too. So, do you have a graduation celebration planned?
Right now, I don't really, mostly because at the time that I would be graduating, I have a lot of book events planned. I'm kind of doing a lot of book signings here in my hometown and also in places a couple hours
Yeah.
away. So that is almost more exciting to me right now than a graduation
Right. And
celebration. So I'm mostly right now working on planning book signings and things like that. But my
yeah.
mom and I did get the opportunity to go on like a little senior trip a couple months ago now, and we actually got to go on the K-Love radio cruise. So that had
Okay.
some of my, it actually had my all-time favorite Christian band plus a ton of other Christian
Yeah,
artists on
that's
it.
so fun.
And so that was like my senior trip, and it was an amazing time.
Yeah, I did see the pictures from that. So once again, if you guys
Yes.
are not following her Instagram, it's seriously so cute. She does a great job with it. You guys have to, what is
Thanks.
your Instagram again so people can follow?
So I'm at taylor.bennett.author.
Okay, so
Pretty
that's an
pretty
easy
easy to
one.
find.
Yeah, easy
Yeah.
to remember. Cool. And you guys can go to her website too. Like if you just Google
Hmm.
her name, her website comes right up and you can find all of her social links on there. So
Yes,
yeah,
definitely.
that sounds like such a fun trip, the K-Love cruise. Like I
It
loved your
was.
pictures.
Oh, thanks.
Okay, so Ivy says, I relate so much to the clean writing/reading situation. It's such a blessing to know that more people are rising up like the rebellious writing movement. It gives me hope for the future of books.
Yes, definitely.
Jessica says, will you have any signings in Medford?
I don't know about signings in Medford yet. I am definitely having one in Roseburg and then one most likely up in, I think it's Corvallis, but I have not looked into signings in Medford yet. But Jessica,
Okay.
I might have to do that.
Yeah, maybe Jessica can send you a message and invite you or something. That would be cool.
Yes, that would be super fun.
Yeah. I
Um,
would ask if you have any signings in my neck of the woods, but I'm in Michigan, so I'm guessing probably not.
no,
It's
none
a
in
little
Michigan.
far, but
Yeah.
someday I'm sure.
Yes, that would be fun.
Okay, let me see if I'm caught up. I think I caught up with everybody. Yes, I
Yay.
caught up with your questions. You guys, your questions have been fantastic. So please feel free to ask more.
Definitely.
We love hearing all your questions, and Taylor's doing a great job with them. I'm going to
Oh,
go
thanks.
ahead and I made a couple notes on my phone for questions that I wanted to ask Taylor because I had some things, some questions I was thinking about beforehand. So I'm going to go ahead and pull them up. But in the meantime, if you guys have more questions about her story or even about just like the writing process,
Hmm.
character development, I mean, there's so many things that you can learn from talking to other writers. And I know that so many people
Definitely.
watching are writers or aspiring writers. And so I think that we can ask her some awesome questions. Okay, let's see what a lot of these questions that I had written down, you guys have already asked, so you were on it. Um, okay, here's a kind of somewhat random question, but
Okay.
what is your dream life? Like, if you could describe your dream life doing anything, let's say like 2 years from now, what would that look like?
Okay, my dream life 2 years from now. I would be doing a lot of what I'm already doing. Pretty much my picture perfect life is getting to write books and inspire people. I don't really have like a super detailed idea for my dream life other than the fact is I know I want to write books for the rest of my life and I really want to find ways to inspire people. I'm hoping to
Yeah,
get more involved in public speaking, like possibly going around to schools and youth groups and
that
talking
would be
to
awesome.
kids, both boys and girls, and really being able to share bits of my story and how I reached for my dreams and really helping them to be able to do the same thing. So,
Yeah,
pretty
that's
much,
awesome.
if I can spend my life writing books that encourage and inspire people and meeting people and inspiring them, that will be my dream life.
Yeah. And it sounds like you're already on your way. I mean, you're already taking the steps that the Lord has placed in your path and you're just
Mm-hmm.
moving forward in faith. And so it's got to be so exciting to see these things starting to come to pass and still
It
being so
is.
young and just, like having your book launch right during your high school
Mm-hmm.
graduation. Like that's just very, very cool.
It is. It's amazing.
That's awesome. Okay. So let's see. If you could travel anywhere in the world right now, where would you go?
Oh boy. So, if I could travel anywhere in the world right now, it would be a toss up between Hawaii, because I love Hawaii, obviously. And also, I would really, really love to go to England and
Yes,
go
I
to
love England. Oh
London.
my goodness.
Yes. I would love to go, like, walk the streets of London. I'd love to go to, like, Bath or wherever it was that Jane Austen
hmm
wrote most of her books
Yeah.
and see all of those old buildings and
Yes.
visit all the places where, like, the famous authors like Dickens and Austen would maybe sit
Uh-huh.
and eat or write
Yes.
and actually
Just imagine
get to
how
do exactly the
inspirational
same
it would
thing.
be.
Exactly. It would be so, so fun. So
Yes.
I would probably have to go to England and London and all those
Love it.
awesome places.
Yes, I love it. Those are my answers. So I'm just like, yes, it's
Yes.
yeah, perfect. Okay. If your book was made into a movie, who would you cast in the lead roles?
If my book was made into a movie, well, number one, I don't watch a lot of TV or movies just because I'd
There's not a
usually
lot of
rather be
options.
writing or reading, and there
Yeah.
aren't a lot of options, yes. So I don't know a ton of actors or actresses off the top of my head, but even if I did, I'm pretty confident that I would want to have completely raw, non-famous people, like
hmm
raw talent.
Yeah,
I
new
would want to
people.
hold
Yeah.
big auditions and casting calls and find those people that were super, super excited about breaking into that film industry, but that were also kind of young and didn't have tons of experience. So they weren't like all Hollywoodish and they were just
Yeah.
excited to be there to act, maybe not
Right. For the
necessarily for the fame
opportunity.
game, but just for
hmm
that opportunity.
Yeah, that's really cool. I love that. I know, like, that's one of my favorite questions to ask authors is that question. But I think
Mm-hmm.
oftentimes as authors, answering that question is hard because
It
the
is.
characters that you've created in your mind, they're so unique. And
Mm-hmm.
you can't very well just like look at people on Pinterest or actors or whatever and be like, oh, this is the person that I would want in my story
Exactly.
because they're so unique
Exactly.
and you really don't know. And I feel like the right person would just have to walk into the room and then you'd say, that is my character right there.
Exactly.
It
Yes.
would have to be a God thing because otherwise I don't even know how you
Mm-hmm.
could how you could settle on people for the
Yes,
characters. But it's fun to think about.
definitely.
Okay. Ellie says, I just got here and I don't really know what's going on, but I'm loving the topics. Welcome,
Well,
Ellie. We're glad you're
yes,
here.
welcome, Ellie.
um, Grace says, do you write any nonfiction?
Well, kind of. Actually, yes, I do. I just forgot. I write so much that I forget what I write.
Who
Wow,
knows
that's a
what
new
you
one.
write?
Yeah. I really enjoy writing devotionals. I've been, I don't do it a lot, but when I do, I just really find that it comes kind of easily in the way that I have a lot of fun with it. And I actually, a couple of weeks ago, got a contract with DevoZine, which is a small kind of devotional magazine similar
Uh-huh.
to Our Daily Bread or The Upper Room, but for teens. And I'm
Yeah.
actually going to have two devotionals published with them
Oh,
in, I think
cool.
it's the July August issue. So that was
Ooh,
a
that's
big
exciting.
surprise. Very exciting and very fun. I enjoy writing devotionals and I enjoy writing blog posts about anything, whether
hmm
it's nonfiction, like just explaining about like some of my favorite places. I wrote a post for a blog a while ago about traveling to Hawaii.
Oh,
And I
cool.
also really enjoy writing posts about writing. So, writing posts
Mm-hmm.
about character development or point of view. I haven't written a
Yeah.
ton of those blog posts, but I hope to write more of those in the future.
Cool. Well, that's fun because I that segues kind of perfectly into my next question, which as me being a writer, like I love to pick other writers' brains because everyone has such
Yes.
a different method of like how they write and their writing style. So with this book, because I know that every book is different and they're all so unique. With your first
Mm-hmm.
book, with this debut novel, was it more of a pre-plotted out, like you planned out everything, or are you more of a fly by the seat of your pants improv sort of writer, or somewhere in between?
Oh, so this book that I wrote was absolutely not thought out very well. I had a vague idea of where I wanted to take it, and I wrote out a little list of scenes that I did not stick to at all. So I pretty much pantsed my entire way through.
Yeah.
And then I started working with an editor, and they told me, hey, you don't really have a plot in this book. Like, it's a lot of writing, but not
Mm-hmm.
that much is happening. So then I had to kind of go in and learn how to be a plotter and learn how to plot out all of
Yeah.
these other things that could happen. So now, with writing my second book, I am paying much more attention to plot. I write out a
Mm-hmm.
detailed, like scene by scene, this is what's happening. So now I'm kind of somewhere in the middle. I'm not one of those people that spends months like pre-writing and filling out
Yeah.
big character questionnaires. I don't have any plot charts hanging up, but I do have a list of scenes that is written
Yeah.
out and that I am consulting every
Okay.
couple of chapters, like, okay, what needs to happen next?
Yeah, yeah, it is interesting, like how you, because that's sort of similar with what happened with me as well. Like my first book was just all pantsing, just whatever
Mm-hmm.
came into mind. And then with the future projects, it's like, okay, maybe I should actually think about the plot here. And,
Exactly.
you start to learn more strategies and different things you can implement. And so that's cool to hear that that's kind of what you've been doing. I had a question that went along with that, but I just totally forgot it. Give me
Okay.
a second. It like just whoop, it went goodbye. So I'm
That's
gonna
okay.
see if you guys have questions. Um, in the meantime, oh, Jessica says we'll be writing in the same Devo zine issue. That's
Oh,
cool.
really? That is really cool.
Now Jessica has a magazine. I'm not sure if it's still running or if they have are taking a break on it or what, but she does Christ-centered girls. Or no. She
Oh,
does
cool.
girls. There's so many girls magazines. Jessica, if you want to say which magazine you do, that would be awesome. Girls for Christ or something like that. So she has a magazine. Ellie says, what's the best and worst writing advice that you've ever been told?
Ooh, interesting.
That's
So the
good.
best writing advice that I've ever, let me think about this for a second.
Oh, hey, I just remembered my question. Not that I'm going to ask
Oh,
right now,
good.
but I'm glad it came back.
Yes, I am too. Okay, so I am going to say that the worst writing advice I've ever been given is probably write what you know. I don't really, I
Mm.
don't love that
Yeah.
advice at all. I think it can get confusing, especially to younger writers that are like, well, I haven't really done that much. Like, how do I write
Hmm.
what I know? In my book, there are a lot of things that my character is dealing with that I've never really had to deal with. She has a sister. I'm an only child. Like, her
Yeah.
dad abandons her. That's never happened to me. Um, so I don't really know much at all about what's going on in this first book,
Hmm.
but I found it easy to do at the same time, and it was fun to write about. So I feel
Yeah.
like if people try and write what they know, they're writing their autobiography. So I don't listen
Hmm.
to that advice. I think you should know what you're writing about, but you don't
Right.
necessarily have to choose what you write about just based on what you know.
Yeah, that's really good.
Hmm.
Eh,
And I would say that the best writing advice I've ever been given is literally to just write. Don't think about it. Shut
Mm-hmm.
off your internal editor. That's something that I've heard a lot, and it is so important because
Yeah.
when I was first writing, I constantly edited myself, and I could barely get a word on the page because before I even wrote it down, I was already critiquing it and already editing it and
Mm-hmm.
already being like, oh my goodness, this is going to need so much work that I'd just get frustrated and not work at all. So
Yeah.
I think just write and don't listen to your internal editor. in the first draft. Like, obviously, you
Yes.
need that internal editor
Later.
to show up for revisions. But at
Hmm.
first, just write and don't worry about it. Let yourself write a messy first draft. It's okay.
Yes, that's so good. That's something I need to remind myself very often. That's
Hmm.
great advice, definitely. So the other part of my question that I was going to ask earlier was, as far as with your, now that you are kind of experimenting more with plotting and actually like having
Uh-huh.
a real plot
Yes.
in your book, do you have any certain methods that you use, or have there been any books that you've read that have helped you, or have you just kind of pieced things together, or how do you go about plotting?
So my plotting method is probably a little unconventional. I've read a lot of books and a lot of articles. I really like writing your novel using the snowflake method, I think is what
Hmm.
it's called. That's a really fun book. But my method is kind of pieced together from a lot of different things and is also
Yeah.
kind of a strange creation of my own. I usually get the seed for a story idea, and it doesn't matter what it comes from, but I usually have one thing, a title, a character, kind of a premise, a location, something. And I kind of start taking that and experimenting with it. So, say if I have a character, I start thinking of unusual places that I could put her in. Like, okay, I
Mm,
have this character that wants X, Y, or Z. Like, what could I do to her to make that an interesting story? And I kind of
yeah.
brainstorm that for a while. And then something kind of strange or unconventional that I do that really, really works for me is I actually make a Pinterest board.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
find pictures of my characters or who I envision my characters to be. I find pictures of the setting. I find quotes that kind of evoke that feel or that mood that I'm hoping that my book conveys.
Hmm.
I'm I love description and setting and things like that, and I really love it when a book has a strong sense of place or a very distinct mood. So I make
Hmm.
this Pinterest board with all of these different things that kind of convey what I'm trying to say with this book.
Yeah.
And by that point, while I'm doing that, I'm still asking myself questions. Like, I see a picture of a person. Oh, who is this person? Would they be an antagonist? Would they be supporting my character? And I keep asking myself questions until I kind of have this board. And then I go through it, kind of look over it, and keep mulling over everything, keep asking myself questions. And by that point, I'm usually ready. I have enough ideas, enough kind of question and answer sequences that I write
Hmm.
out a rough synopsis.
Yeah.
And once I have that synopsis, then I take it and I expand it into a list of detailed scenes. Like, okay, here's what needs to happen. Now I need to go and write down every individual scene to tell people exactly what is going to tell myself exactly what is going to happen.
Yeah. Well, that sounds amazing, you guys. I hope you're taking notes because this sounds like we have a new method we can try. We'll call it the Taylor Bennett method.
There we go.
This is Taylor's way of crafting a story. Very cool.
Yes,
I like it. So, is your Pinterest board for Porch Swing Girl, is it public or is it a
it is
private board?
public. It is
Okay, so
public.
we can
I
look at it.
Yes, I just revealed it. I think it was last week,
Oh,
and I had a
cool.
lot of fun. Like, it was super messy because it just had all of my random ideas on it. So I went
Hmm.
in and cleaned it up and made it kind of pretty. And yes,
Yeah.
it is on Pinterest. I'm on Pinterest at, I think, just taylor.bennett.author. That's
Okay.
kind of my typical online name. So yes,
Yeah.
feel free to look at that. It's a lot of
Cool.
fun.
Yeah. Very cool. All right. We've got a couple more questions here. Okay. Oh, Jess just was updating us. She said the next issue comes out on the 20th and it's Girls for Christ. So if anyone's interested
Okay.
in her magazine, it's called Girls for Christ. Um, let's see. Grace says, how many books have you written?
So, Porch Swing Girl is the first book that I've written to completion. And there was that one kind of weird, unfortunate attempt in middle school that was kind of a book, but not really because it wasn't
It
really
was
long enough.
middle school. It's
It
okay.
was it was middle school book. So, Porch Swing Girl was my first one. Then, actually, kind of a funny story. I wrote my second book to completion and was editing it. And then my editor told me that she did not want it to be written from the point of view of the side character. So I had
Oh,
turned the side character in book one into the main character in book two. And my editor told me, like, she's like, oh, I don't love that, but if that's what you want to do, when all along there'd been a miscommunication, I thought that she wanted me to write about that side character
oh,
instead of my main character. And we kind of talked and we're like, yeah, this isn't working. So I technically wrote book 2 and now I'm rewriting it. So
Rewriting it. Oh, no.
I guess I've written 2 books, but that strange kind of failed attempt at book 2 is never going to get published.
Okay, and so this is a set, like it's a trilogy. There's 3 books, right?
It's a trilogy.
Okay, cool. So do you have other book ideas for the future?
Oh my goodness, I have way too many book ideas for the future. My publisher was talking to me once and she's like, if books 1 and 2 do really well, we're going to start talking another series. And sometimes when I'm just daydreaming, I think like, oh, I wonder what I'm going to write about next. And I probably have 10 or 15 Pinterest boards for ideas for books. And I keep thinking like, which one am I going to choose next? Yeah. I kind of have this desire to try writing like a Regency book, like a book set in the Regency era for young adult, because I've recently started getting into that genre. So it would be a toss-up between a Regency book or one of my many, many other ideas.
That's cool. I know. I feel like that's one of the problems with creativity is when you just have too many ideas and not enough hours in the day.
Yes, definitely.
Implement those ideas. That's cool. All right. So I think we're caught up on everyone's questions. Ivy said, unfortunately, I have to go, but this was awesome. And I'll definitely come back to watch the recording. Thank you, Taylor, for answering my questions and encouraging comments on Go Teen Writers.
Oh, well, thanks, Ivy. I was really happy to have you here.
Cool. All right. So we're probably going to wrap things up here pretty soon, but I do have a couple more questions that I wanted to ask. So I'll pull these up real quick. Let's see. Okay. One of my questions was, how do your friends feel about your writing and how did you get connected with a community of writers? We kind of talked about this briefly earlier as far as connecting with a community, but how do your friends feel about what you're doing in your writing career and stuff?
Well, it depends on which friends. Most of them are like super excited and they're always interested to hear about it. And they're like, oh, what's going on with your book? Or, oh, I saw your book cover on Facebook or Instagram or whatever. Yeah. And then there are the friends that got written into my book. Oh. And they're very interested because I keep telling them,
they're in the book.
They're in the book. And I'm like, your book's coming out in like a couple of months or whatever. I wrote one of my friends into it, and then I wrote some other people. I wrote my mentor and one of my mom's friends into the book. Wow. And I've written a lot of people into the book, actually. Some of them know it, and some of them it's a surprise until the book comes out. And cool. Then they're going to like see themselves. Nothing strange. Like everyone is in a very positive light. I didn't get back at anyone, but no. So I have some friends that are very interested, and they're like, I still can't believe you like made me a character and changed my hair color, my eye color, or whatever. But
that's so cool.
Yeah. So that was very interesting and fun to kind of be able to write people that I know into the book.
Yeah, that's fun. And that's sweet, like that you told them and that they're excited and stuff. That's really fun. Because I know sometimes as an author, it can be tempting to be like, you have semi-inspiration from a person and you might kind of put some things about them in the book, but I've never, like straight out telling them, hey, I put you in this book.
Yeah, and there's some people that are totally in the book. Like I said, I named one character after my mom's friend, and my writing mentor actually share the same name. So cool. I kind of combined their personalities and added in a little bit of my own creativity and gave that character their name. So that's really fun. I think they're both kind of excited to see what I came up with.
Yeah, that is cool. Well, I'm so excited to read your book. Like after, I was obviously already interested in stuff in it before, but just after getting to talk with you more and hearing more about your heart and what the story is about and everything, it's going to be a really fun read. So for those of you who are interested in her book, you can go to her website. You can follow on social media. It's coming out in May. It's going to be here really soon. Time is flying by. So yeah, that's super, super exciting. All right. So I'm going to check. Okay. So I think I will do one more question. I still have like a bunch of questions, but I'm going to pick one here and see. Oh, here's a fun one. Okay. What special things have you done to connect with your launch team? Because I know that part of being an author is having kind of your marketing plan in place and knowing how you're going to launch your book. And so, like the people who have been part of your journey and are supporting you, and maybe beta readers and people like that, like what kind of fun things have you done for them? Or maybe do you have planned for them, like live chats or anything fun?
Yes, so the people in my launch team, I have a Facebook group for them, and it's called Taylor's Porch Swing Girls, and that's
Oh,
where we
cool.
all kind of meet and connect. When I started it, I had everyone go ahead and introduce themselves. I had kind of a little fun facts thing they could fill out so that we could all get to know each other better.
Uh-huh.
And sometimes they get to see things that I am putting out, like my book cover, my book trailer. They get to see them a couple of days early,
Mm-hmm.
so they get like the sneak peek things, and then as they start leaving reviews, I'm probably going to do some like fun exclusive giveaways just for them,
Oh, cool.
because I'm so thankful to everyone who has been helping me with this launch and being willing to read and review the copies, that I really want them to have fun with it. And I want it to be about them too, because they're the readers and they're the people that are getting to do this. But it's not all fun. I mean, they do have to leave reviews and do stuff for me. So I really want to make sure that I'm giving back to them and thanking them as much as I can.
Yeah, that's really cool. And I love hearing those ideas because I know that, like, especially for authors, it's like, I don't think the readers like realize how important they are and how important they are to us. And
Mm-hmm.
like, we really do want to make them feel special. We want to
Yes,
involve them and like truly thank them. Because like even a review, it's like for them, it's like, oh,
exactly.
I could leave a review or I couldn't. But for authors, like that's so
Mm-hmm.
important. And
That's,
so
yes,
like we appreciate every review, everything so much. And so that's
definitely.
cool to hear ideas of what you're doing to help just connect with your people. And again,
Mm-hmm.
it goes back to community, like we were talking about. And I'm
Yes.
sure a lot of your readers are probably writers themselves and are
Mm-hmm.
probably wanting to do the similar things that you're doing. And so I'm sure that it's really encouraging for them to be able to watch you and see what you're doing and kind
Yeah.
of get ideas for their future as well. So
Mm-hmm.
that's really cool. Okay. Jessica says, thank you for this. I've actually been listening to this video while working on an article about Hawaii. So it was fun to hear your
Oh, cool.
perspective. That's cool.
Fun.
And then another question. We kind of already talked about this, but have you written any more books and when are they coming out?
So, the book two that I am writing, not the one that I already wrote, but so the sequel to Porch Swing Girl, that is my second attempt at it, is going to be coming out next June, so June of 2019. And then the
Okay.
third book in the trilogy is due to release in June of 2020, I believe.
Okay. Wow.
So,
It's
yes,
amazing how far away that is.
I know it is. It's crazy.
But it is like I'm in the traditional publishing, like I know they plan things out very far
Hmm.
ahead and things. So
Very far ahead.
yeah, but it's nice that it gives you time to really tweak
Yes,
everything and make all the edits and stuff. Because if it was
for sure.
rushed, that would be way more stressful. So
Exactly.
very cool. So those are the books you guys have to look forward to. And I'm sure that there will probably be more, even more projects in the future coming from you because it
Yes.
sounds like you have some awesome ideas. And it'll be really fun just to see what the Lord does with you and your
For sure.
writing. And I mean, he's already done so much, but just to continue to see the story unfold and everything, it's super fun to watch. And so,
Hmm.
all right. Well, thank you guys again so much for tuning in today. Thank you
Yes,
for
thank you.
asking all your awesome questions. You guys had fantastic questions. And like we mentioned before, this video is recorded. So if you have anybody that you want to like share it with or send it to, please feel free to do that. And we're going to be doing more author live sessions in the future. I've got some more authors that we're going to be having featured in future episodes. So be sure to subscribe to the channel. That way you can get updates when we have different authors and stuff. And yeah, so thank you guys all for joining. Taylor, is there anything else that you want to say before we end the chat?
No, I just want to again thank everyone for tuning in and listening and asking questions and engaging. It was super fun to see all of your support and your enthusiasm. So this was a lot of fun. I had a great time.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining in. And we hope that you'll join us in for future sessions coming up. And remember to be sure to follow Taylor on all of her social media and stuff. Because like I said, even if you never read her book, like her Instagram is just so cute. You at least need to follow that. So go follow her. All right. Well, I hope you guys have a great day.